Welcome back to the Storyteller's World, where we explore the stories behind great stories. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the lie that our characters believe, the hidden force behind every great character arc. Every great character begins with a belief, not just a goal, not just a desire, but a belief about themselves, a belief about the world. Now, the other day, I was thinking about my father. He passed away 5 years ago or a little more. I was thinking there are a lot of great stories that have been written about the relationship between a father and son. And if you're not currently familiar with it, you can go and find a movie I made called The Suitcase Man that also talks about the relationship between a father and a son. And so I guess I've been thinking about this topic for a long time. But the main thing that keeps coming back to me, the reoccurring thought, is probably one that I share with many men. And that thought is this: what we believed about our fathers changed over time. Our fathers didn't change, their behavior didn't necessarily change, but we changed and our belief about them changed as a result. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Sometimes that belief protects them, and it's the very thing that prevents them from changing. In my last video, we talked about cognitive dissonance and how that affects the characters. You may recall that I said that doesn't end well for the bad guys. Well, the truth is, if your story doesn't have this element of change in their belief, it also doesn't end well for the character, and therefore the story doesn't end well either. When we talk about character arcs, we often say the character needs to change. But change is not the beginning of an arc. A character doesn't change simply because the writer decides they should change. They change because the story forces them to confront something they have spent their entire lives avoiding. You may know people like this. You may be one of these people. And so the most interesting characters are not the ones who don't know themselves, who don't know who they are. They are the ones who believe they know who they are, and they discover they're wrong. A great example of this is Elizabeth Bennet in Pride and Prejudice. Now, Elizabeth Bennet considers herself a perceptive person. She values intelligence, observation, and judgment. She believes she can see through people. Again, we probably all know someone just like this. Anyway, that's what makes her so fascinating in the story. She is intelligent, she is observant, and she is confident. If you were writing this story, you've written a good character, someone who's intelligent, someone who sees things that maybe other people don't see. But of course, the story Pride and Prejudice needed a very confident character. But confidence becomes dangerous when we stop questioning ourselves. We've all heard the expression, confidently wrong. I have been confidently wrong about so many things. This is what I enjoy about reading new books. Whether they are old books or new, they tend to push at my current beliefs, push at my values, and help me to re-question what I truly believe about things. At any rate, Elizabeth believes she understands Mr. Darcy. She sees his silence as pride. She sees his reserve as arrogance, and his distance as superiority. She believes she has judged him correctly. Going back to my father, how many times have we done that in our lives where we judged our father and come to realize later that we were wrong? What Pride and Prejudice reveals is something deeper. Elizabeth was not wrong because she lacked intelligence. She was wrong because she trusted her own interpretation too much. The story doesn't simply change Darcy, it changes Elizabeth's understanding and her understanding of Darcy. Her past does not change, the events do not change. Only the meaning she assigns to the events change. And this is where writers can learn something important. A character arc is not always about learning something new. Sometimes it's about discovering that something they believed was not true. Your character's greatest obstacle may not be a villain. It may not be the world around them. It may simply be the story they've been telling themselves for years. When creating a great character, don't only ask what happened to them. Ask what conclusion did they draw from what happened. Two people can experience the same event and walk away believing completely different things. One person may believe they survived because they're strong, while the other person may believe they survived because they didn't trust anyone. If you were lucky enough to have many brothers and sisters, you may find that one or more of them fit into this category, if not yourself. The events are the same, the meaning is different, and meaning is what creates character. Great characters are not about becoming someone else, no more than they are about learning something new. Not always. They're about becoming more honest. The characters begin the story protecting a belief. The story challenges the belief, and by the end, they finally understand themselves. And this brings me back to my father. Now, I was lucky enough to spend a lot of time with my father, and he taught me many things. And I believe truly that I understood my father and all the things that he went through, even from an early age, things that he told me about in his childhood. But as I got older and after he passed away, I come to understand that there are just things that you can't fully understand until you get older. And sometimes I wish I could go back and just tell my dad that I understand. I understand how you feel and that another human being understands. Now, there are two reasons that I would love to be able to have the chance to tell him this. One is because I believe that a lot of people don't get the chance to hear that they're understood. But the more important thing, and the thing that pertains specifically to a character's full arc, I know that my father would have appreciated and been proud to see that his son understood and had grown in his own understanding. Every character carries a story inside of them, but sometimes the story that they've been telling themselves is the only one that needs to be rewritten. Well, that's all I have for today. But if you like this kind of video and this conversation surrounding the stories behind great stories, please feel free to like, subscribe, and share this video. It would mean the world to me. Here at the Storyteller's World, I'm very interested in developing a conversation around each of these topics. I would like to know what changes you've written into characters of your own. And if you'd like to learn more about how I develop characters, please leave a comment below. And thank you again.